What's up, everybody? This is your singing garbage man. Today, I got a story for you. And I am kind of surprised I didn't think to tell it before. Because this happened like probably 3 years ago. I was driving on a route where there's this main intersection, right? Well, excuse me, a back road intersection, not a main intersection. Coming at this back road intersection, right? And across this intersection is a railroad track. Well, not like across the intersection itself, but like within 200 feet of the intersection is a railroad track that crosses diagonally across the road. And so, because it's a country route, and I'm driving a front load truck, each stop, is so far and few in between. I'm on the left side driving instead of the right side, and I have my bucket tucked away because I want to put that away between stops so I don't lose anything, and I'm seat belted in and everything, man. I pull up to this. I'll go across railroad tracks, and I can kind of see out of the back window, but I think I had adjusted my truck. I went over in the left lane and angled myself so I can try to see out the side door to watch for any trains coming, right? Before I approach the intersection. Once I got to the intersection, I made a left, and the moment that I straighten the truck out, I go to look for the train again. And some of you might know this if you've been in older style Mack trucks. There was, you don't see it on this cab because they put this nice window in the corner, right? But you guys know what some of these older trucks, some of these older Mack trucks, it was just the door and then sheet metal, corner, sheet metal, nothing. Like, in order for me to look for a train at that back diagonal, right, I have to stick my head out the window to try to see if there's a train coming. While I am sticking my head out the window, I don't notice my truck is drifting to the edge of the road. For any of you that may not know anything about commercial vehicles, for the most part, you want to try to keep it off the shoulder of the road, because, and this is what happened with my truck, oftentimes, especially out in the country routes and whatnot, away from the main roads where it's, lots of traffic, semi trucks pass through all the time, and right, on these back roads, the shoulders tend to be very soft. Very soft. The moment that my steer tire touched the shoulder of the road and I felt the truck go off the road, and I'm only going 15 mile an hour tops, I go to steer out of off of the shoulder. But by then, my steer tire had sunk so far in the dirt of the shoulder that I was just turning into the edge of the road. And so at that point, there's nothing I can do. And because of the soft shoulder, it starts sucking my truck towards the ditch. And I was just along for the ride as my truck slid further and further into the ditch, took out the yield sign for the railroad tracks, and come to a complete stop before tipping over on its side. And thankfully, because those older trucks, the armrest over here, right, was held on by some bolts with butterfly nuts right next to the ribs. And if I had tipped over very hard, I might have just like broken a rib or two off of that jump. Stupid, man. And then, so I tipped my truck into the ditch. That sucks, dude. And I grab my phone, I climb I open up the door on the left side, and I climb out of the truck, and I'm sitting on the side of the truck calling 911, and I'm calling my managers and saying, hey, I put the truck on the side, right? The story gets a little bit more interesting, right? Because the wreckers show up, and then one of the first things they do is they call the railroad company to close off or to stop any trains in progress on the railroad tracks, so that they can pull my truck. Once they tip it up right, they're going to pull it across the railroad tracks, to continue my direction, right? And so they called the number. They said, yeah, that's fine. There's actually no train scheduled on that railroad track today, or anymore today. And so they get me tipped upright, and one of the trucks pulls out in front and is across the railroad tracks, and he's beginning to start hooking up. He's going to start hooking up the truck when I hear a train whistle. And I'm like, is that a train? And my manager's like, no. They called and said that there was no train scheduled on it. And a couple seconds later, train whistle again. Man, that is a train. He's like, you're right, that's a train. What the? I was like, well, I think there's another set of railroad tracks over there. Maybe they're on the other railroad tracks. And the train gets closer, and we're like, no, that's definitely on these railroad tracks. Hey guys, wait. Stop what you're doing. There is a train coming. And luckily they didn't have anything stretched across the train tracks. So they just, move their stuff completely out of the way as the train is pulling up. Now the train slows down and comes to a stop before the intersection. The conductor gets out and talks with us, and he's like, yeah, I heard over the radio that you guys, your truck had gone into the ditch near the railroad tracks. We just come through they wanted us to come through and check and make sure the railroad tracks were okay. We're like, yeah, it didn't make it to the railroad tracks just yet, so you're good, bro. You're solid. So he climbs back up there and takes off again, right? So he does. They get my truck out. I'm trying to shorten this story for you. They get my truck out. It's towed back to the shop. Actually, there was surprisingly minimal damage on the truck. We thought, man, the whole side of the truck might be all wrinkled up and whatnot because of laying down in the grass. We thought, that the cab was going to be all mangled up, and we thought the arms were going to be bent. We thought that it was so many things that could have gone wrong. None of that was damaged. The only things that were damaged were the mirror mount on the right side and the transmission. Apparently had dragged across the edge of the pavement and cracked the bell housing on the transmission. And so they did have to replace the transmission, but it was back out on the road like a couple weeks later. As soon as they got the transmission and put it in, it was back out on the road, like nothing happened. So it was wild. And the whole way I was driving back with my manager, I'm like, man, I'm telling you, the only thing that I think I did wrong, I don't know what I did wrong, why I ended up in the ditch, except that I should have treated it like a school bus and stopped with my four-ways on, come to a complete stop before looking, right? And my manager was like, bro, if that were true, I should expect to see you in that ditch every week, right? And rightfully, he's not entirely wrong with that, right? But we went back and we were able to pull dash cam footages, because we got dash cams in our trucks. We pulled the dash cam footage, and we're reviewing it, and my manager was like, you know what, I stand corrected, you're right. Everything was right. You were entirely right. And you do, agree, you do need to stop at the intersection at the railroad tracks and look for railroad track crossings like that. So that's my story, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and be safe out there, guys. Peace.